Why does exercise feel so hard after menopause? So if you've been struggling to get moving, if you're finding it harder to exercise once you're in menopause, you're not imagining it, it does get harder. So I've been in menopause now for about 8 years, and I'm going to give you 5 reasons why it does feel harder to exercise once you're over 50 in menopause, and I'm going to also give you some examples of what you could do about it. So the first reason is you're probably busier than you've ever been in your whole life. Yeah, seriously. I feel like I'm busier than I've ever been in my whole life because I got my family, I got my business, I got my parents taken care of now, I got other responsibilities that are just part of day-to-day life. I feel like I'm busier than I've ever been in my whole life. I mean, my parents are getting older. Just taking care of my parents is like having another job. I'm not complaining. I seriously love my parents to death. I would never want it any other way. But realistically, you gotta be honest with yourself. Taking care of your family, especially if you're the main caregiver, and if you're a woman, you probably are, then it can be a lot. So, give yourself some grace. You're probably busier than you've ever been in your whole life. And it's just hard to fit exercise in. It's just hard to fit it in once you get older. So that's the first reason why it just feels harder to exercise once you're post-menopausal or over 50 or even over 40. So let me know if you agree with that. Do you feel like you're just too busy to exercise? I hear that so often. I'm just too busy. I don't have time. I can't fit exercise into my life. I hear that over and over and over again. So the second reason is we're probably just tired. I mean, honestly, being in menopause, you're exhausted, you're not sleeping well, you're not imagining it, your hormones are fluctuating all over the place, making you feel crazy, making you feel exhausted, you're not sleeping at night, you're waking up in the middle of the night, you're having hot flashes, you're having anxiety, you're having all kind of stuff going on. But just the tiredness alone, you're probably more tired than you've ever felt in your whole life. Now maybe, if you had kids, I don't have kids, so I'm sure when you had young babies, you weren't sleeping, so you're probably super exhausted then too, but then this is probably the second most tired time of life. So when you're exhausted all the time, who wants to exercise? You feel too exhausted to get up earlier than you have to. By the time it's 3, 4, 5 o'clock, you're exhausted again, and the thought of going to exercise is just like, I am too tired. So again, you're not imagining it, you're not lazy, you're not indisciplined, you're just tired. So we got to take that into consideration. You're just tired. So the third reason why it feels really hard to exercise post-menopausal, and I got to check my notes because the menopause brain, is that you just can't do what you used to do when you're in your 20s and what you used to do in your 20s and 30s. So I had a whole nother video about this, but our bodies just are not the same. We just can't do what we used to be able to do. We used to be able to, run 5 miles or take 3 dance classes back to back or spend hours in the gym. And honestly, our bodies just cannot do in our 50s and our 60s and our 70s what we used to do. So again, you're not imagining it. Your body just physically cannot do the same thing that you used to do in your 20s and 30s. Unless maybe you're one of those, I would say, fairly rare individuals who are in better shape now than they were in their 20s and 30s, which is possible and definitely doable. But I think for the most part, many of us feel like we're not as fit as we were when we were younger, or we just, even if we are relatively fit, because I'm relatively fit, but I just can't do what I used to do when I was in my 20s and 30s, what I used to do in my 20s and 30s. So, the other thing is your body needs more rest. You need more rest. You need to make sure you're not going to injure yourself. So you need to rest more, be a little bit more careful. Maybe you have injuries that you've accumulated over time. Maybe you have arthritis. Maybe you have osteoporosis. Maybe you have back issues, knee issues, shoulder issues, a whole lot of stuff. I mean, we've accumulated lots of years of life by the time you're postmenopausal, and you need to take these things into consideration. Of course, this does not mean that you don't do anything. We still got to be moving, we still got to be exercising, but it is harder. You have to be more careful, you have to be more mindful, you have to be more intentional about how you exercise once you are over 50 or postmenopausal. So that's reason number 3, I think. Reason number 3. Yep. And then reason number 4, back in the day, you could just go to the gym, do an aerobics class, or, do some weight training, or you could go, run, or it was a lot easier to find programs that cater to you when you're in your 20s and 30s, even 40s. But once you're in your 50s and 60s, there's just not that many options that really understand our bodies, that understand what it's like to be in your 40s, 50s, 60s. I mean, I remember one time I went to the gym, this was a while ago, and I was in, I think it was like a sculpt class. And the trainer came up to me and he's like, okay, come on, you got to do 30 reps as fast as you can. And I can't remember what we were doing. Maybe it was burpees or something. And I looked at him, I was like, 30 reps as fast as you can? Are you on, you know what? I was like, look at me. Do I look like I could do 30 reps faster than I'm doing them right now? I was like, you are out to lunch. You don't know how to deal with older women. Get a grip. But if I was not, if I wasn't aware and I had tried to push myself to do 30 reps as fast as I can, God knows what would have happened to me. So a lot of these trainers in gyms, they just are not trained to deal with older people. I mean, maybe it's not their fault, but I think it is the gym's fault. They need to be training trainers how to deal with women over 40, over 50, over 60, postmenopausal. I mean, you just cannot do the same things that, other younger people can do. And I don't think gyms get it. I think even a lot of yoga studios don't get it. I'm scared when I send women who are older to a yoga class sometimes, because if they go into a wrong class and the teacher doesn't understand how to deal with an older person, especially a beginner, then, they're going to end up being turned off of yoga and never wanting to do yoga again. And there's just not a lot of options for programs that help us women in postmenopause to exercise. You could try YouTube, of course, there's always YouTube, but there's so many options on YouTube that you could just be scrolling and checking out this and checking out that, and if you're not careful, you're overwhelmed with options. Seriously, you're overwhelmed with options on YouTube, so so it works for some people, and for other people it just doesn't work. So that's the 4th reason why it's just harder to exercise, post-menopause. And then the last reason is that, you've heard this, I'm sure, a million times. Strength training. You got to build muscle. You got to fight against, osteoporosis, osteopenia, sarcopenia, which is losing muscle. And of course, I do agree. I've said it myself. Strength training, maintaining our muscles, our bones is super important once you're post-menopause. But if you've never lifted weights, if you've never done any strength training in your life, how are you supposed to start? What are you supposed to do? Go out and buy a bunch of weights and try to do it on your own at home? We already talked about a gym that a lot of times gyms just don't get it. What do? Watch a bunch of YouTube videos trying to figure out how to start strength training at 60 years old. I mean, I get it. It's challenging, it's intimidating, you're scared to hurt yourself, you don't know how to start. Quite frankly, it's boring. I'm going to do a whole other video about starting strength training over 50. And, there are just lots of reasons why most women don't really want to do strength training. Not because they don't like it, although I've read recently that it's actually growing and that there are a lot of women now who are picking up doing strength training, which is great. But to try it, to do it on your own by yourself, it's a lot. So I did promise to give you some tips, some guidance on what you can do about it, because I think we can all agree that it is harder for us to exercise, move our bodies once we are, over 50 or postmenopause or even in perimenopause. So the first thing is we're busy. We're super busy. So we got to start small. And if you only have 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 3 times a week to fit some form of movement into your life, then that's what I would say to do. Start super small, start with 2 minutes, start with 5 minutes, start with a 10-minute walk, once a week or twice a week. Just start with whatever you can. And I have done many videos about this, the importance of just starting small, just establishing some type of consistency, because once you start small, once you start showing up for yourself, even if it's 1 minute a day, it's much easier to add on to that, and it just becomes a habit. It just becomes a habit. So that's the first thing I would say. If you're super busy, start small. It doesn't have to be hours at the gym. It doesn't have to be an hour on your yoga mat. You don't have to be, weightlifting for 2 hours at a time. Just start with whatever you can manage. Now, if you want me to go more into this, please let me know. I'd love to give you some more examples about how you could do this. The second thing is, as I said, if you're tired, you're exhausted, you just got to work with your energy and listen to your body. So for me, I find that the only way that I really have energy to do hardcore exercise, and when I say hardcore exercise, meaning a little bit of strength training, is in the morning, right after my 8 o'clock class. I teach an 8 o'clock class every morning online, and then right after that, I literally do 10 minutes of strength training, because I've said to myself a million times, I'm going to do it later, and I'm just too tired. I am just too tired to make myself get up and do it at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. I'm just too tired. So I have to work with my energy. I have to listen to my body, and I just get it done in the morning. It's done. I don't have to worry about it for the rest of the day, and I just get it done. The other thing is, there are programs like mine that do cater to women over 40. There are programs, there are communities out there, whether in person or online, that do understand what it's like to be over 40. And, I would suggest that you check out a community that really gets what it is, gets what it's like to be you, your life, your body. You can check out Bloom, which is my online yoga and wellness community. I'll leave a link below to that. Or, you can check out some of the other videos here on my channel, where I do try and do, I do some yoga for women over 40 videos that are specifically specifically designed for us women over 40. So, you don't have to work with me, but just see if you can find somebody, some community, maybe it's a personal trainer who understands how to work with you and your situation, because it's not worth hurting yourself. It really isn't. The time it takes to recover from injury at our age is just not worth the risk. And then the last thing is to, again, I mentioned it, listen to your body. Listen to your body. If you're just too tired to exercise one day, just don't push it. Just listen to your body, rest. But if you feel like, you got a little energy, you want to do some cardio today, you want to go for a walk, you want to do, some yoga, you want to lift some weights, then just do what your body is asking you to do, because, bodies are talking to us all the time. And if something is hurting, your hips are hurting today, or your back or your knees, a lot of the times we just need to rest if we have an achy joint. But then again, we also want to move it to help with the healing process. So I think I've gone on a long time in this video. So I hope you found these tips useful. And if you want more help, one-on-one guidance as to how to fit exercise movement into your life, I am coming out with a one-on-one coaching program. It's just 30 days targeted to us women over 40 who want help to fit exercise into your day. So I'm gonna be working with women one-on-one. I'm only working with a few, so if you're interested, get on my VIP wait list, which I'll also leave a link to below. And all that will do is you'll be notified when I open up the program, and you'll get special early access as well as bonus pricing. And you'll also get the opportunity to maybe shape the program. Tell me what you want me to include. So that's my VIP wait list for my one-on-one Get Moving coaching program. And if you have any questions, you can also email me about that. So you can watch my next video, which is yoga for women over 40. That will definitely also get you moving. And I hope you've enjoyed this. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, and I'll see you again soon.